Stars fans on edge. Is Rick Harrison, the sharp-witted star of the hit History Channel show Behind Bars? Rumors of Rick Harrison in jail are lighting up the internet.
It came as a huge shock to Pawn Stars fans when rumors started swirling that Richard Kevin Harrison had been sentenced to life in prison. Rick, famous for his no-nonsense approach to business and his vast knowledge on the show, suddenly found himself in serious legal hot water, something no one ever saw coming. Pawn Stars, a hit show that let viewers into the world of pawn dealing, rare artifacts, intense negotiations, and the drama of Rick's famous Las Vegas pawn shop, had always been an exciting watch. But now, Rick's flourishing TV career has taken a dark and surprising twist. But what exactly did he do to end up facing such a harsh punishment? Stick with us as we explore the events that led to this unexpected turn in Rick's life and dive into the shocking details of the case. Richard Kevin Harrison, a well-known American businessman and TV personality, was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. When he was just 2, his family moved to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. At the age of 8, Rick developed epilepsy, which meant he missed a lot of school and had to spend much of his childhood reading books. This is what helped him build the incredible knowledge of history that would come in handy in his career later on. Despite the challenges, Rick's early life wasn't all smooth sailing. His epilepsy made school difficult, and he eventually dropped out during his sophomore year. But instead of letting this setback hold him back, Rick stayed determined and focused on self-education. He spent hours reading up on a range of topics, especially history and business. This dedication to learning on his own would later shine through on Pawn Stars, where his encyclopedic knowledge impressed viewers. In his teenage years, Rick started working alongside his father in various business ventures. He developed a sharp eye for spotting value and authenticity, skills that would prove essential in his career. At 17, Rick's girlfriend Kim became pregnant, and the young couple got married. They went on to have 2 sons, Corey and Adam, but eventually divorced after 8 years of marriage. In 1981, Rick's family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, where his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, known as the Old Man, opened a gold and silver coin shop. Over the years, this small shop evolved into the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in 1989, which would later become the setting for Pawn Stars. The shift from a coin shop to a pawn shop was a strategic one, as the Harrisons recognized the potential for greater profits in the pawn business. The early years were tough, with Rick and his father working long hours to build a reputation in Las Vegas. Rick often had to handle difficult customers and navigate sometimes risky situations, all of which helped him sharpen his negotiation skills. By the early 2000s, Rick had earned a reputation in Las Vegas for his expertise in collectibles and historical items. His pawn shop became known as a place where unusual and valuable items could be found, attracting both locals and tourists. Seeing the potential for turning his business into something even bigger, Rick pitched the idea of a reality show based on the daily workings of the pawn shop. After years of rejections and relentless persistence, Rick finally struck a deal with the History Channel in 2009. Pawn Stars began airing, giving viewers an inside look at the gold and silver pawn shop. The show featured Rick, his son Corey, his father the Old Man, and their friend Austin Chumley Russell as they evaluated, bought, and sold items with historical significance or dubious value. The show became an overnight success, turning Rick from a local pawn shop owner into a TV celebrity. His straight-talking manner, witty catchphrases, and impressive knowledge of historical artifacts made him a fan favorite. Rick's signature line, "The best I can do is," quickly became iconic as he negotiated with customers eager to sell their treasures. What made Pawn Stars stand out from other reality shows was the educational twist Rick insisted on. Each episode featured fascinating historical facts about the items brought into the shop, with Rick often providing detailed context and background, showing off his impressive knowledge. This approach resonated with a wide range of viewers, helping make the show one of the History Channel's most successful programs. Under Rick's leadership, the pawn shop's business boomed. drawing tourists from all over the world who hope to catch a glimpse of the stars, or maybe even make an appearance on the show. Merchandise sales soared, and Rick capitalized on his newfound fame by writing books, making public appearances, and even opening a restaurant. The success of Pawn Stars catapulted him into a new level of celebrity. He appeared on countless talk shows, was featured in magazines, and became a popular speaker at business events. His rags to riches story resonated deeply with many Americans, and his no-nonsense business advice earned him respect beyond the entertainment industry. As the face of Pawn Stars, Rick became known for his sharp business sense and straightforward approach. He was often the voice of reason, reining in his son Corey's impulsive purchases or Chumley's hilarious antics. His relationship with his father, the old man, was built on mutual respect from years of working together. When his father passed away in 2018, Rick showed his commitment to carrying on his father's legacy by continuing to run the business with the same values. Rick's personal life during Pawn Stars' peak popularity had its highs and lows. After his first marriage ended, he married Tracy Harrison, and they stayed together for 27 years before divorcing in 2011. In 2013, Rick married Deanna Burdett in a ceremony officiated by his Counting Cars co-star, Danny Coker, with Chumley serving as the ring bearer. While Rick kept much of his family life private, he occasionally shared glimpses on the show, revealing his devotion to his family despite the pressures of fame and business. Rick didn't just stop with the pawn shop, he expanded his business empire. He opened Rick's Rollin' Smoke BBQ and Tavern at Pawn Plaza, right next to the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. He also co-authored a book in 2011, Licensed to Deal, Pawn Stars, My Life at the Gold and Silver, which gave insight into his life and business philosophy. As a constant entrepreneur, Rick always had an eye out for new opportunities to grow his brand. Throughout his career, Rick demonstrated an incredible knack for spotting value where others might miss it. On Pawn Stars, viewers saw him evaluate everything from historical documents to vintage cars, ancient artifacts to modern collectibles. His expertise seemed endless, but he was always wise enough to call in specialists when an item fell outside his wheelhouse, showing the prudence of a businessman who knew his limits. Rick bought and sold a wide variety of items on the show. Some were major hits, while others were less successful. His expertise in firearms, watches, and American history led to many profitable deals, turning modest investments into significant gains for the shop. One of his most famous purchases was a 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl ring, which he bought for $20,600 and later valued at much more. Another standout acquisition was a collection of Spanish gold doubloons recovered from a 1715 shipwreck, proof of his interest in both history and valuable precious metals. But not everything in Rick's life has been smooth sailing. His fair share of struggles have stemmed from some tough choices along the way. In 2023, Rick's legal troubles began when federal agents raided his Las Vegas home as part of an investigation that had been ongoing for months. At first, the public wasn't given many details about the investigation, sparking a wave of speculation online. The raid came as a huge shock, not just to fans, but to people close to Rick too. FBI agents, IRS investigators, and officials from the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection showed up with search warrants for both Rick's home and the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Employees and customers at the shop were briefly detained while agents seized computers, documents, and several items from the shop's inventory. Rick's son, Corey, who was at the shop at the time, later described the scene as surreal, like something straight out of a movie. Witnesses said Rick stayed calm as agents escorted him from his house, keeping his cool even as neighbors captured the moment on their phones, with the footage quickly going viral on social media. As the details trickled out, it became clear that the authorities were investigating allegations of a complex tax evasion scheme, money laundering, and dealing in stolen or illegally obtained historical artifacts. The investigation seemed to have been sparked by suspicious transactions flagged by financial institutions and complaints from former business associates. Following the raid, the History Channel paused production of Pawn Stars, issuing a brief statement saying they were monitoring the situation and would make decisions based on what more they learned. The gold and silver pawn shops stayed open, but the number of customers visiting dropped as the legal cloud over Rick's head started to affect the business. At first, Rick's representatives firmly denied any wrongdoing, calling the investigation a misunderstanding that would soon be cleared up. His lawyer, David Marshall, a well-known Las Vegas attorney famous for representing high-profile clients, reassured the public that Rick had always run his businesses with honesty and in full compliance with the law. But as the investigation unfolded, more troubling details came to light. Authorities claimed they had uncovered evidence suggesting Rick was involved in a complex scheme to undervalue historical artifacts for tax purposes while secretly selling them through private channels at their true market value. Investigators also alleged that Rick knowingly purchased stolen historical items through intermediaries, including significant documents and artifacts belonging to museums and private collections. According to court documents released later, the investigation was partly triggered by a former employee who had worked closely with Rick on acquiring several high-value items. This whistleblower reportedly gave authorities details about a second set of books, allegedly kept to hide certain transactions Rick didn't want officially recorded. Rick was arrested but released on bond the next day, with a court appearance scheduled soon after. He faced multiple felony charges, including tax evasion, money laundering, dealing in stolen property, and conspiracy to traffic illegally obtained cultural artifacts. Rick's lawyer confirmed that Rick vehemently denied all charges and was prepared to fight them in court. The legal battle that followed dragged on for nearly a year, with Rick maintaining his innocence throughout. But as more evidence surfaced and former associates testified against him, his position started to look increasingly dire. The prosecution presented financial records, encrypted messages, and testimonies from former employees who claimed Rick had instructed them to alter paperwork for certain high-value items. The prosecution also presented evidence suggesting Rick had set up offshore accounts to hide profits from some particularly valuable transactions. One explosive piece of evidence was a series of text messages between Rick and an unidentified supplier, discussing how to erase the provenance of an 18th-century document believed to have been stolen from a university archive. In another conversation, Rick allegedly discussed how to structure a sale to avoid triggering the reporting requirements for large cash transactions. Throughout the pre-trial proceedings, Rick stuck to a defiant public persona, making appearances on conservative talk shows where he claimed he was being targeted because of his political views and success. His supporters rallied behind him, creating #FreeRick hashtags and organizing protests outside the courthouse during hearings. Rick hit rock bottom when he broke the law, shocking many who had seen him as the knowledgeable, straight-talking businessman from Pawn Stars. The arrest revealed a more calculating side to him that few had expected. His legal troubles painted a different picture of his character, and the surprises kept coming. While many rushed to judge Rick based on the media reports, it's important to remember that everyone deserves compassion during their toughest times. Some loyal fans took to social media, creating support groups and emphasizing that no matter what, Rick's educational approach on Pawn Stars had positively impacted their lives. One supporter wrote, "Rick taught me to love history in a way school never could. Now it's our turn to show him we haven't forgotten the good he's done." These support communities began spreading online, giving people a space to share their thoughts and show their backing for Rick. The courtroom was silent as Rick's sentence was read. He had maintained his composure throughout the trial, but when the judge announced the verdict, he visibly paled. Corey, his son, who had sat behind him throughout the proceedings, buried his face in his hands. Chumley, who had been there every day to support his mentor, quickly exited the courtroom, visibly overwhelmed by emotion. The sentence took legal experts by surprise, with many suggesting it was too harsh given the crimes committed. However, the judge stressed that the sentence wasn't just about the financial crimes, but also the severe damage done to historical and cultural heritage through Rick's involvement in trafficking looted artifacts. Mr. Harrison, you have presented yourself to the American public as a guardian of history, someone who values the stories behind objects and understands their importance to our collective heritage, the judge stated. Yet in reality, you have participated in the systematic looting and destruction of irreplaceable cultural sites for personal profit. This court cannot ignore the gravity of such actions. In the days following the sentencing, Rick's legal team immediately filed an appeal, arguing that the punishment was excessive and unconstitutional, especially considering the nonviolent nature of the crimes. They also requested that Rick be allowed to remain free on bond while the appeal was processed, but this request was denied. Soon after, images of Rick being led away in handcuffs flooded the news and social media, marking a dramatic end to the case. The reaction to Rick's conviction and sentence was all over the place. Many longtime fans couldn't believe it, insisting that there must have been some mistake in the justice system. On the other hand, people from the academic and cultural heritage worlds praised the harsh sentence, calling it a necessary step to combat the lucrative trade in stolen artifacts. Rick's situation sparked an unexpected wave of support from his fan base. The Hearts for Harrison campaign quickly gained momentum, collecting over 100,000 signatures, calling for a review of his case. Supporters argued that his sentence was far too severe when compared to similar cases. "We're not saying he shouldn't face consequences if he broke the law," campaign organizer Melissa Jenkins explained. "We're just saying that a life sentence for a nonviolent offense doesn't reflect justice. It reflects vengeance." For those who believe Rick deserves a second chance, the petition is still open, and there's also a legal defense fund where even a small donation can make a difference in his appeal process. Corey, Rick's son, shared his thoughts with the public, stating, "My father made mistakes, but he doesn't deserve to die in prison. He deserves the chance to make amends." Meanwhile, the History Channel wasted no time distancing itself from Rick. They officially canceled Pawn Stars and pulled reruns from the air. In a statement, the network expressed its disappointment in Rick's actions and emphasized its commitment to the respectful treatment of historical artifacts and cultural heritage. Despite all the legal drama, Rick's legacy in the world of reality TV and the pawn industry still holds weight. Before his troubles, he had successfully expanded his business empire, including opening several restaurants and bars around Las Vegas. He had plans to expand even further into other cities. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, now under Corey's management, continues to be a popular tourist spot in Las Vegas, although the number of visitors initially dipped after Rick's conviction. Corey has worked hard to rebrand the shop, focusing on transparency in every transaction, and even partnering with museums and educational institutions to promote ethical collecting. In a heartfelt interview 6 months after his father's sentencing, Corey talked about the struggle of keeping the family business afloat while addressing the serious issues raised during the trial. "We've implemented strict new protocols to verify the provenance of every item we buy," he said. "What happened was wrong, but we're committed to being part of the solution, not the problem." Chumley, who had always looked up to Rick as a mentor and father figure, has been open about his conflicting feelings. "I learned so much from Rick. Good business practices that I'll carry with me forever," he said on a podcast. "But I've had to accept that there was another side to him that I never saw, or maybe didn't want to see." It's been a tough time for the Harrison family, but their main focus now is rebuilding their reputation and their business while continuing to support Rick through the appeal process. Corey, now fully in charge, has shown business skills that have surprised many, especially those who only knew him as Rick's sometimes impulsive son on the show. The Harrison family has been deeply moved by the outpouring of support from fans worldwide. "Your messages of encouragement have been a lifeline for our father," Corey said in a recent statement. "He reads every letter sent to him and draws strength from knowing so many people still believe in him, despite everything." Rick Harrison's family has called on fans for support during this incredibly tough time. Every Sunday, they've organized prayer circles outside the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, where loyal followers gather to show solidarity. If you can't make it to Las Vegas, the family encourages supporters to send letters, cards, or even photos from memorable moments on Pawn Stars that brought joy. These small gestures are helping more than you might think during Rick's darkest hours. My father taught me everything I know about this business, Corey shared in a recent interview. The good parts of that education are what I'm trying to build on now. We made mistakes, big ones, but this shop has been part of Las Vegas for over 30 years, and I'm determined to make sure it's here for 30 more. Rick's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. From running a small pawn shop to becoming a reality TV star and entrepreneur, and now facing life behind bars, his rise and fall highlight how quickly things can change, especially under the unforgiving glare of fame. Cultural critics have even compared Rick's downfall to something out of Shakespeare, a man with exceptional historical knowledge who ultimately used those artifacts to destroy his own legacy. His story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of success, the temptations it brings, and the blurry line between savvy business and criminal activity. As his case unfolds, we'll keep you updated on the latest developments in this unprecedented situation that has rocked the world of reality TV and left the Harrison family struggling to keep their business afloat. In these challenging times, Rick needs all the support he can get. If you've been a fan of Pawn Stars and appreciate what Rick has brought to television, consider sending your prayers, positive thoughts, and encouraging words his way. The Harrison family has set up a website where supporters can leave messages to be delivered directly to Rick in prison. Your kind words could make all the difference for him right now. The website also provides an address for those wishing to send physical letters, with the family noting that hearing from fans has been Rick's main source of strength during this ordeal. As the family put it in a statement, Rick has always appreciated the Pawn Stars viewers. Now more than ever, knowing you're still in his corner means everything to him.